Mental Misstep countering Lackey or Aether Vial on one was a huge deal. But Jim Davis, he stuck to the Goblins clan.
Yep.
And he top-aided the Invitational with Goblins.
That's right.
He got second, correct?
I believe he did. And what is Jim Davis saying? Like, he says, Goblins are not dead. Not only are they not dead, I'm going to play Goblins, and you know what? I'm going to play Mental Misstep.
Yeah, he has 2 Mental Missteps in his main deck right now. I think he had 3 at the Invitational. I don't remember off the top of my head, but he has...
Go ahead.
You know, he's pretty standard Goblins. He has Lackey, Pile Driver, War Chief Matron, Ringleader, Incinerator. Yep. Only 2 War Marshals.
Well, what are his unique cards that he has? Prospector to kind of go off with the Sharpshooter.
Yep, and Tin Street Hooligan off of Taiga. He doesn't have Black. He doesn't have Patriarch's Bidding or Perish, which some people have been playing. And he's a Volcanic Island, so he can cast these missteps.
Now, you gotta see if you can see this or not, but he also has a little rocket ship right here on his deck list, because he, I guess, likes rockets. His opponent, Zach Hess, is playing a very burn-based, I'll call it almost like a Dark Zoo deck.
Yeah, Dark Zoo is exactly.
Grim Lavamancers, Tarmogoyfs, Dark Confidant, Goblin Guide, Lava Spike, Riftbolt, Chain Lightning, Sensei's Divining Top to go with the Dark Confidant, but basically very burn heavy.
This actually looks like Burn Splash Bob and Goyf.
And only barely splashing Bob and Goyf.
Yeah. He's got top. Out of the board, he has Frozen Grip for green. That's a reasonable splash for any kind of 8 cards.
Absolutely. Leyline of the Void in black, which he can actually cast if he doesn't have it in his opening hand.
No, he only has 1 Badlands.
1 Badlands, and he can't actually cast it. His handwriting's a little scribbly. I thought I saw 2 Badlands.
Yeah. No, it looks like he's just lightly splashing for a bit more power in the 2 drops, a bit more long game. So this is Burn versus Goblins here, basically.
Now, if it plays out traditionally like Burn versus Goblins has played, Burn ends up turning, if it's played correctly, into a very much a more controlling deck, where what it does is tries to take off every single creature until it gets to a, usually like you don't race.
Not in this format. The Goblins deck has the better late game because of Ringleader here. You can't really you can't attrition Goblins in this format because of Ringleader and
I was thinking about the way that I was watching Patrick Sullivan play against Goblins, which is he turned into a control deck where he's like burn that, burn that, burn that, and then he finished his opponents off with the late game cards that he had.
He doesn't have Zach Hess. Pat Sullivan had Figure of Destiny though.
Right, he has Tarmogoyf.
He only has I believe Pat Sullivan had more Tarmogoyfs to sort of. Or more Figure Destinies than he has Tarmogoyfs to be a real quad.
Here's what you have, though. You've got Grim Lavamancer.
Right.
And that's like Grim Lavamancer with cards like Tarmogoyf. Even if you only have 2, it gives you the ability to get that after you've mapped up the board.
I think the extent of control we're going to be seeing from Zach is bolting the Lackey on 1, maybe activating a Lavamancer on a Pile Driver or 2. But I think that a lot of his burn is just going to be going straight to the face and attempting to not die before the Goblin Horde just gets online. Because I don't think you can reliably play this control role with just... Maybe he lands a Goblin Guide and starts burning guys down as he hits with the Goblin Guide every turn and trading his cards, maybe trading 1 damage off his Lightning Bolt because it kills a guy that gets the Goblin Guide through.
Certainly can't play control to the horizon of the game, but what you can do is play control long enough to keep yourself from dying and then turn the burn to the face. Sure. Which is what the burn style decks always have that option for.
Sure.
But I mean, you still are in that control role until you're ready to be you look at your hand and you're like, the damage is here, I'm going to go for it.
The problem with that though is that you have, in order to control Goblins, they play so many guys so fast that you can't really...
They only play the guys fast if they have out Lackey and the Chief.
Or Aether Vial.
Yeah.
But if you start aiming all of your burn at their guys, or burn towards their guys at all, you're going to run out of burn in general. He does have Dark Confidant, but I think that without Figure of Destiny, if I can look up Patrick Sullivan's list real fast.
Patrick Sullivan's had 3 Figure of Destinies.
3?
Yeah.
If he has the Tarmogoyf or the Dark Confidant going, he can definitely apply to that plan, but I think that if he doesn't, he's going to have to start going for the face real fast.
I mean, one of the things, the difference, I suppose, between this deck and Zoo is very much more in the control role, because Zoo absolutely gets to be here's a Tarmogoyf, I've got 4 of them. Here's another big creature, I've got 3 or 4 of them, and has enough burn.
Yeah, I've had the opposite experience actually. I think that
I don't know. I've been to a lot of the Star City Games events for Legacy. I've seen that matchup a lot, and usually the Zoo deck kind of it's very similar to playing against the Merfolk, unless they get the explosive ringleaders with some sort of acceleration.
I've always felt that when Goblins wins outside of the explosive draws, it's because the Goblins players the Goblin lets itself get to the late game, lets
That's just what I
start
said.
Well, no, you were saying that without the Goblins player is going to win as the control. They're going to kill Zoo's early creatures, get to a manageable board state where Zoo can't attack into your War Marshals and all your guys without taking a bunch of damage on the swing back, and just overdevelop the board.
I think that we have different experiences in playing and or watching that matchup because Goblins usually does not have very many ways to kill creatures. It has the 4 Incinerator usually. It sometimes has one Sharpshooter.
Warren weirding. That was, I mean,
It's
when
not
I
common anymore.
I mean, even with the Incinerators, you can matron for the Incinerators, you can Ringleader into the Incinerators,
I
you have a fair
understand,
amount
but
of damage.
Incinerator only kills a creature if you've got out Goblins and usually don't.
Well,
and
that's,
Warren Weirding has not been commonly played.
Yeah, but that's what you have to do in that matchup. You have to establish a board state. You have to sort of...
Yeah,
the Zoo deck is trying to kill you before you can establish.
I'm not actually talking about what you should do. I'm talking about what people are doing.
Ah, well,
there's a big difference.
There's a difference.
Yes.
Yes. I think that, one of the things that I've seen always with Goblins is that it's the best aggro deck at taking the control role in the mirrors.
Well, I mean, it's effectively, if you look at it from an archetypical standpoint,
Yeah.
Goblins is a mid-range aggro deck.
Yeah.
And what does that mean? It means that it lives and dies on its board presence, and it's very good at establishing board presence.
Right.
And you don't see Goblins doing things like playing for short-term damage. It's always building up more is its game plan.
Your end game is always a critical mass of creatures killing them.
And now it can do it really quickly
Yes.
because of the power of the cards, but that doesn't change it from being a mid-range deck that's just fast.
Right. I think that... Let's see. Jim Davis, probably one of the keys here is making sure these price of progresses stay as dead as possible.
And Jim actually is not terribly resilient against it. I mean, he does have 4 wastelands with not too many targets that he can hit with them. He's got 4 ports, which he's going to want to put down in general.
He can waste his own lands to get out of it.
Absolutely.
I think that one of the keys here is that all of his fetch lands go for basic mountain.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing for him to Tin Street that has value. Sensei's Divining Top is not a Tin Street Hooligan target.
Not at all.
Not unless your opponent falls asleep and then says, I guess that
If I remember
happened.
correctly, that adds up miserably for you, because I think Tin Street Hooligan is not optional, so you cast it. And if you have a Violent player, it's going to blow up your Violent when they flip the top in response to the actual spell.
Well, I mean, if you fall asleep, maybe you might have your Sensei's Divining Top hit, but otherwise it's probably going to be pretty rough.
Yeah. I'm just looking at what else we have going on
From
here.
the sideboard for both of these decks, the Goblin player, Pyrokinesis is not as exciting as it would be against some people because there aren't very many creatures, but it does take out one of Zach Hess's paths.
The rest of the sideboard doesn't seem very good. Crows and Grip,
matchup.
Pyroblast, Tin Street, Sting Surger, Relics, Red Blast all seem very mediocre.
And we're going to go to that match in progress.
Yeah.
Right now, Jim Davis with Goblins versus Zach Hess. You can see Jim Davis there on the right.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, for those of you who are just joining us, welcome to the Star City Games Open Series. It's day 2. We already have in the books a standard champion, Jerry Thompson. And here, the beginning of the Legacy Open, Jim Davis, well known for his Goblin playing for quite a long time now, versus Zach Hess. Zach Hess is playing a deck that is burn-like, but has a couple of splashes for Tarmogoyf and Dark Confidant, and Jim Davis playing Goblins. Goblins with a tiny, tiny little splash of blue that he'll never spend because it's Mental Misstep.
Yep. So it looks like Zach was on the play here, leading off on a fetch land for presumably, well, Basic Mountain, Taiga, or Badlands. Basic Mountain he chooses. Probably doesn't have the Tarmogoyf or Dark Confidant on his hand, or would prefer to wait a turn to fetch whichever land he needs to cast it through a wasteland.
Lava Spike? Grim Lavamancer, original arts.
Yeah.
The good Grim
The
Lavamancer.
Legacy Grim Lavamancer, not the standard one.
I don't know, I played that Grim Lavamancer in standard.
Jim draws. From here he assumes he's up against Burner Zoo. He has 3 Aether Vials in his opening hand. That's that's one of those things I don't really like about Aether Vial sometimes. I know that I boarded a lot in these sort of, well, not blue matchups, but the fair creature matchups, just because if Goblins against Zoo, I guess you need it in Goblins, but in Merfolk against Zoo, just Aether Vial is not a card. It's just a mana source, and it's not even an exceptionally great one at that sometimes. But so these 3 Aether Vials are going to be clogging up his hand a little bit, making it a bit more like a mulligan. So Zach Hess fetches again for a basic mountain. Maybe called Zach Hess's deck Jundburn.
I wouldn't even go so far as to call it Jundburn.
Can you even call it anything in Legacy Jund? That looked like some kind of burn to the face, probably lava spike.
Yeah, the glare is making that really hard to tell what it might have been.
I'm assuming that Jim is at 17.
Yeah, I wanted to call this Dark Zoo, but initially looking at the list,
there's no Wild Nicottles.
Well, even without Wild Nicottles, there aren't even a full set of Tarmogoyfs.
Yeah.
They're not a full set of Dark Confidants, and so it really is kind of burn splashing green and black.
Burn splashing zoo.
Yeah, it's closer to burn than it is to zoo.
Yeah. No, I first looked at the list, I'm like, oh, aggro loam. Then I look at the spells, I'm like, this is an aggro loam. So Jim has another.
Oh, look at all those vials.
Yep. So in a couple turns, he can possibly get those on. Ooh, Zach misses the damage.
I think he might have chosen not to do that.
Well, why didn't he just? He could have attacked with the Lava Master last turn too.
You can hold it back though to do something like kill a. To not have the one lackey come into play with the vial and block your guy.
Well, the lackey was on 0 then.
Oh yeah, the vial was on 0.
What he could do is he could have let the he was playing around lackey and off vial, and then Gem Pole Incinerator your Grim Lava Master.
Yeah.
But I think that the damage is more relevant. A missed damage.
I mean, he only has so many cards in his graveyard right now. And it's tapped.
Rift Bolt?
Yep. Yeah, that is a Rift Bolt.
Jim Davis 16 to Zach 17.
Jim does not put anything into play. 2 and 1 and 1.
Yep. Looks like Jim has a couple of pile drivers.
I think I see a Gem Palm there.
Yep. It might just be 3 pile drivers. One of those traditional goblin starts. Passes the turn.
Does the 2 now. The vials threaten to overwhelm the Grim Lava Mancer's ability to control much of anything.
Yeah.
Knocks him down to 14. Rift Bolt comes down. Oh, we got to pause here. While you're tapped, here it comes.
Vial this pile driver into play. Try and cycle Gem Palm. Zach could have a lightning bolt for that, so Jim is debating whether he wants to risk the not really 2 for 1, but I guess the turning his 2 for 1 into a cycler.
None for none.
Yeah. That's an accurate way to put it.
Yeah.
I guess 1 for 1 bolt trades for a pile driver.
1 for 1 into none for none.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like 3 pile drivers to me.
Here it comes. Pile driver.
Maybe one of those is a prospector.
Tap, tap.
Nope, just 3 pile drivers.
Incinerator. He says, sure.
Yep.
2 for 1.
Okay.
Zach moves to untap. Kills the pile driver.
Huh.
The first pile driver is not a card that I would really feel like controlling. However, with Rift Bolt in this situation and 2 Aether Vials, you just don't have as much control over what your options are.
Really, the fear is that Aether Vial is going to 3 to bring a War Chief.
Yes. And then your other ones can go to 2s, and then suddenly you're in... I mean,
suddenly you're goblins.
Yeah. Now, Jim Davis has, was it 4 cards in hand?
Yeah, if Jim just had War Chief Matron as his cards, that pile driver would have been easily lethal. War Chief off the vial, play the Matron, get another pile driver, and just sort of kill you.
Grim Lavamancer from Zach Hess. It goes to 3 to 2 to 2 with the Aether Vials. He pauses in that last one. It looks like, I mean, he incremented it, but he was thinking for a moment whether he should or not.
Yeah. Looks like he drew the Sharpshooter here.
Snow-covered mountains.
That is a lot of pile drivers, I think. Is it? I can't tell what his last card is. It might just be pile drivers.
That's a sick Grim Lavamancer, my friend. Nice try.
Man, Grim Lavamancer with haste. He's porting on upkeep.
Upkeep, port your mountain. All of these lands from Zach.
Yeah, he only runs 2, 8, 12. I think that's 21, so...
And he's actually already sacrificed...
5 fetches? All of his lands have been on fetches, I think.
Yeah, so that means he's seen 10 lands so far out of 21. And it's on, I think, turn 5. End of the turn. Down comes a pile driver.
At least one pile driver.
Here comes a pile driver.
Yep.
End of the turn. Here comes a sharpshooter.
Is his last card another pile driver? Zach
What's a sharpshooter do? Now, one of the interesting things about sharpshooter's untap effect is not optional. It's mandatory.
He lets him untap with a sharpshooter. Or did he move that? Yeah. He lets him untap with a sharpshooter in play, which seems... It automatically kills that Grim Lavamancer.
Yes,
so
it does.
I don't know about that.
I mean, he could be in the position...
his last card's Siege Gang Commander. That's what it is.
He could be in the position where he does not see himself winning if that Grim Lavamancer shoots the sharpshooter, and just be like...
Go for the face?
Go for the face and try to draw it out with burn.
I guess Grim Lavamancer's a shock, but I think that if you kill the sharpshooter, you're going to get in at least another shot, most likely. So maybe... I feel like it was unreliable. Like,
I'm not saying it's correct or anything. I'm just trying to figure out what the thought process might be.
Sure.
Now, like, with the sharpshooter being a mandatory untap, that means, and this has happened to me, where my opponent, quote-unquote, forgot, and you have to tell them, you know, that untap, you have to maintain the game state. It's not a May. They get that untap.
Yeah. That is 2 pile drivers coming in for 6. This might be a Grim Lavamancer.
And it's shooting the pile driver, perhaps, even.
Not even at the beginning of combat. Let's see. It's trigger on the stack, going to the face. Jim opting not to just shoot the... Yeah, okay. Gets the trigger resolves that, and then shoots the Lavamancer and taps. There we go. Plays the 4th Aether Vial.
Siege Gang still in hand. Go.
Did Zach shoot that down at the beginning of combat, or did he take... There we go, Rishin and Port again.
Galvin Guide, I'm going to guess. There we go, just making sure. Sensei's Divining Top.
Not quite what we were looking for there, I think.
Well, with so much mana, honestly, it's not terrible for him. I mean, he's got
I think he needs
flooded.
like Fire Blasts of just all Fire Blasts.
I'm gonna say, at this point, with this much mana, Sensei's Divining Top is actually a really good card for him.
That's fair.
What do these cards do? Because he can always get rid of that Sensei's Divining Top every turn, and then the subsequent turn, draw the Sensei's Divining Top, look at 3 again, get the best one, and just... He's got so much mana.
Drawing a card. And he opts to... Chain
Lightning. Sharpshooter. Take 1.
I don't know how much I like that one. I think that you can't go long against goblins here.
Yeah, you want to keep things under control up until the point where, like, they can take over. You know, you don't want to stop their initial ability to gain advantages.
They just kind of have this, like, little gap in there where if you kill their lackey or stop their vial or something...
The creatures I like to kill are lackey, War Chief.
Yep.
And if they happen to have the top end, Siege Gang.
Yeah, I think that like the multiple pile driver situation is something where you have to kill some of them. But
if they get a second pile driver,
Yeah.
or if they get a pile driver marshal, then yeah.
I think that I don't think that you have to throw your removal at the little guys other than just use it. Their mana is the weak point of their deck, so that's where you should be using.
What is this?
Matron.
Matron. Oh, now we have the power of
War
War Chief Siege Gang.
Yep. That is probably going to be, yeah, that's lethal damage coming in off that pile driver if Zach doesn't have a removal. And he only has Lightning Bolts and Fire Blast to not die here. I think if he's using the Fire Blast, that means he's probably dead.
What does that do? Oh yeah, haste and everything gets cheaper. Oh, Siege Gang, what does that do?
And
Wah, wah, wah.
this looks like...
Yeah. In they come.
That looks like death. It's 11 off the pile driver, so the rest is lethal.
Picks it on up.
Yep.
Going on to game 2, Zach Hess. Potential good answers. I think
Smash to
Smithereens
is the only option you have.
is, and it's not great.
It's better than Price of Progress.
I don't know if it's better than Price of Progress.
It's better than the 4th price.
It's better than Lava Spike.
No, not at all.
I think so.
Not at all. You need Lava Spike to actually, like, that's one of your burn spells that's actually going to do something. I think Jim Davis...
How about this? It's better than Chain Lightning.
No. I think
we see these matchups as entirely radically different than the other person.
I think that the 4 Price of Progress, I think Jim Davis, seeing burn cards, is going to want to play around Price of Progress. That's just one of the things you automatically do if you are playing against an opponent who's been Chain Lightning and burst.
I'm not disagreeing, but Goblins has this little thing where it has a lot of non-basics. Like, Jim Davis has 11 non-basics in his deck.
Yeah, but some of those are wastelands which can waste themselves.
I'm okay. I mean,
he's not going to fetch the Tigers or the Volks ever.
They tap out. I have absolutely used Price of Progress against wastelanded decks where they're like, my wasteland's tapped. And then I absolutely have used Price of Progress against decks where they wasteland themselves to stop themselves from hurting. And that's okay too. It's not as good as the damage, but it's still good.
I think that Goblins is a deck where you can just afford to throw away your mana like that, though.
Yeah, like, one of the reasons I would say Lava Spike, for example, is that there's too many times where you're going to get the 3 damage if they have... I would be having no problem with no Smash to Smithereens coming in, because it's not great. All it does is it kills Aether Vial. And that's not great. It's okay.
Well, I think that if your other plan is to throw your burn at their mana guys, I think that Smash to Smithereens is fine at complementing that.
Yeah, but I was just going to say, with Lava Spike, you have enough other redundancy on burn. It's okay to lose a card that doesn't interact with the opponent for a deck card that does.
But Price of Progress doesn't really interact with the opponent at all.
Right. I think it does more, though, than Smash. So we can agree, even though we disagree on a lot of stuff with this, we can agree that there's not very much for Zach.
And the card that you want to board out is not something that can target a creature.
Yeah.
I think that your arguments about like them tapping out for Price of Progress, I think it's easier to get them to tap out or tap low for a Chain Lightning, especially because they're going to be leaving up port mana if they're going to pass your turn, or Wasteland to waste their own card around Price of Progress. Or I mean, that's kind of a cute interaction, how those cards kind of make them want to leave up red, but also Wasteland to wasteland their own cards. I don't see 4 Price of Progress being where you want to be.
Jim Davis' side of the board, he also has very, very little for the matchup. He might just stay straight up.
I can see Tin Street coming out.
I can see Relic of Progenitus coming in because you're like, my cards are sucky and Relic of Progenitus draws a card.
Turns off a Grim Lavamancer at best. I don't think boarding in a Cycler is... It's marginal value against Grim Lavamancer. I'd rather probably... The 2-1's probably... It's pretty bad, actually.
Tin Street Hooligan's bad.
Tin Street Hooligan's really bad. I might rather have Pyrokinesis to kill Grim Lavamancer or something, but that's 2 cards for 1. No.
He hasn't seen Tarmogoyf yet. Once he sees the Tarmogoyf, I think that it's possible Pyrokinesis might come in.
Armorloid versus Pyrokinesis is not the fight you want to be fighting, though. I don't, unless
fair.
we're counting like creature, land, sorcery, instant, or creature, land, sorcery, instant, core. So he's out of Pyrokinesis range usually. There we go.
Not usually, sometimes, you know.
I'm pretty sure there's going to be a creature. There's a big enough mix of instants and burnt stuff here.
That's fair.
And Pyrokinesis is an instant, right?
So after you see it, maybe you put in a Sting Scourger for your 10 Street Hooligan.
Maybe.
Bouncing a Tarmogoyf is just fine.
That's probably reasonable. Yeah. So, instant sorcery, Pyrokinesis, or land's always going to be in the graveyard, creature's going to be in the graveyard. Sorcery, there's a ton of sorceries in this burn deck, and then Pyrokinesis is the instant. So, yeah, Pyrokinesis is not going to kill a Tarmogoyf most of the time, unless it blocks. So, you're like 3 for 1ing yourself to deal with that Tarmogoyf there.
Zach gets to his opening hand. Oh, is it 6 cards there for Zach?
Leads on fetch. See what this land leads to. I mean, again, red deck's hoping for the Goblin Guide, so.
It's
Suspender Rift Bolt.
Turn 1 Suspender Rift Bolt is only a play I want to make if I'm definitely deciding in my opening hand that I'm going to go for their dome.
Well, I mean, that's all this deck's doing, so I think that he has to commit to that.
We've already talked about this, though. Remember, it stops the lackey on, like, turn 2, perhaps, off of Aether Vial.
I think this is where we're differing on this matchup. I think the burn deck's the beatdown.
You said that you want to stop the lackey.
Yeah, I think the burn deck's kind of this beatdown where some of your burn spells turn into pseudo stone rains.
Right.
And you think that it's more of the control. And
I think it's control for the first couple of turns.
See, I view that the same as saying that, like, you're going to wasteland your opponent, and that's a controlling thing to do. Like, you're only using your burn spells as a way to kill their war chiefs and lackeys and keep them off mana, so they can't race you.
War chiefs and lackeys are Llanowar elves, essentially, for the Goblin deck.
Yeah.
There's the Grim Lavamancer. Turn 2, Aether Vial goes up to 1 counter. We get a, looks like a fetch land most likely from Jim Davis. He's contemplating a Rishadan Port in his hand.
Yeah. I think he just wants to let that Aether Vial do its job here, but let's see what else he has. Is it the mountain you were talking about with the snow on it?
No, actually that's a snow-covered mountain.
Oh, is that actually a snow?
That's an actual snow-covered mountain.
Yeah, it is on his deck list.
He goes Lackey, Cycle, gets a dead Grim Lavamancer, and a free card.
There we go, and that lackey is going to have to be killed.
Goblin Guide. For my money, that Goblin Guide sits.
Yeah, you have to block that lackey. If it hits you, you are going to die.
This is...
Zach being stuck on 1 land is does not look very promising. Jim in a pretty commanding position here, though. His hand doesn't look like it has a lot of action. Looks like
another vial.
Plays a non-basic.
Says go. Upkeep taps the land.
Yep.
Zach
now that
does not
Rishadan
flow.
Port's going to be doing its job.
Just draws. Looks like probably no land from Zach. We also look like we maybe have somebody bouncing our camera around a little bit. Sorry for that, everybody.
Yep.
It looks like a second lackey, I think. I can't quite tell. Maybe it's a Mogg War Marshal. Can you see what that is under? Is
Yeah,
that
it's a
Mog?
War Marshal that he had in his hand. EOT chooses to pay the Echo so he can port
Yep,
again.
War Marshal.
His hand has no action, so we're going to see this one draw out for a little bit longer.
Which is okay for Jim Davis. He's just getting closer to getting a ringleader going or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, his opponent's mana screwed. He's flooded, but Jim's deck has the more powerful top decks. Even if Zach gets out of this mana screw, he's just casting bolts. Jim draws out of this. He's drawing a ringleader or
a matron.
Yeah, and he's just exploding out onto the board.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some news from Riki Hayashi, who is playing in the Draft Open. His triple Fireball, Mind Control, green, blue, red, awesome deck. Apparently got Soren's Vengeance out.
What?
You told me.
And we get a port during upkeep again. Zach Hess still stuck on mana. He looks at the Mog War Marshal. What does this thing do? It's got Echo.
So
if it dies, it gets another one. Another 1/1 comes with it. So
it's
a total possibility of 3 1/1s could come down from that.
Yeah, that card is one of the ways that Goblins has traditionally used to beat the bigger creature decks because there is no way to break through that guy. Another port, which good news and bad news for Jim. Looks like this is one of those games where I guess you were right, and Price of Progress would be doing a lot of damage, but Zach is.
I mean, I've watched a lot of these matchups, and you get the damage in. Like,
looks like Zach boarded in Crossing Grip. I saw him draw a green card.
Oh, Crossing Grip. That is maybe it's a Tarmogoyf. Maybe he drew a Tarmogoyf.
Yeah, I don't know. Crossing
It
Grip.
didn't look like new art though. I mean, sorry, as in it didn't look like the art from the future.
There's the ringleader, and this game
there
should
we
be.
Go.
Unless Jim completely misses. Jim debates wants to crack his fetch land first so he can randomly.
Imagine missing with this many land out of his deck.
Yeah.
I'm gonna predict 3 goblins in his ringleader.
Let's see. It's 31 minus 3, so 28, and he has.
Is that 3?
Yep.
Woo! And a matron, so he gets to do it all again tomorrow.
Yeah.
I think that's
or
2
right
matrons. Oh yeah, he's got the mana to cast it too. So this is what we're seeing with the massive potential for card advantage, which I think, if we're not counting what I'll call fake card advantage like ad nauseum, which just throws it all away anyway, right?
It's not actually card advantage.
Yeah, it's like, look I've got some fuel and I'm going to throw it all away. Goblins might be the best card advantage deck in Legacy.
Card advantage is really absent from this format.
Yeah, it's mostly a format that has a lot to do with time.
It has a lot to do with tempo and card selection due to Brainstorm.
Yeah.
The only other card advantage engines are things like Life from the Loam, which has been seeing a little bit of a resurgence lately. It's being kept down a little bit by Hive Mind and similar decks, but Life from the Loam is very powerful in these sort of fair deck mirrors because it just, you draw 3 cards a turn and they don't. Even if they're lands, it's still 3 cards. Jim
Incinerator before he does the matron, just to see if there's anything else that he knows.
Yep.
Any more information. And now down comes the matron.
Yep. He
Is
has
that double
another
matron?
Yeah. So his hits were Incinerator, Matron.
So what he can do here, if he wants, is go Matron, War Chief, if he wants it, into... He's got a Lackey in play. I was thinking Matron into War Chief, into Matron, into Siege Gang. Siege Gang comes down with everything else on the after the attack.
Yeah, he's just going to ringleader into a bunch of gas and Lackey, whatever he sees, I think. Or is it the Siege... Oh, he got the Siege Gang?
He got the Siege Gang.
Yeah, that's also reasonable with the Lackey.
That's why I think Matron... I mean, you can have the Matron back as backup.
Yeah, I don't think he needs to hit with the Matron. It's lethal next turn is the whole point.
And then here's the Siege Gang with mana open. That's actually awesome.
Yeah. Siege Gang with port open is the more important part. Just keep Zach off of drawing, say, Pyroclasm or something similar. And does not look like a land. Discards and passes the turn.
And you're dead.
Extends the
There
hand.
we go.
Yep, that was a Crossing Grip in his hand. So Zach Hess kept having his mana shipped away by the port that game and didn't really get to do anything. And Jim Davis gets off to a good start with his Goblins deck that he has done so well with in the past. Welcome back to the booth, everybody. I'm Ari Lex here with Adrian Sullivan.
Hello.
And you just watched round one of today's Legacy Open.
Right.
We started off today with some standard. We saw some Goblins win and lose in the finals to Jerry
That's right.
Thompson's Callblade. And here we are again with Goblins defeating Burn.
Right. And